Hi there. My name is Jennifer Lowe. I am a social worker, therapist. I mainly worked in Seattle and I've been here in New Mexico for about a year now. And I'm a licensed social worker with over a decade of experience working with children, youth, families, and things like that. So,
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you so much. And today we're going to be talking about healthier relationships and then unhealthy relationships. That's a message that we have to, that we want to bring to the community and to especially young people.
yeah,
Okay, let's start out with the first question.
sure.
So, what do you think would be the main characteristics of an unhealthy relationship?
An unhealthy relationship would probably be a lack of respect. If you don't respect your partner or you name call, everybody gets angry. It's how we deal with that anger. It's normal to fight. It's how we fight and communicate during those really hard times. So I would say definitely respecting your partner and how you come back and repair. So when you do fight, if you're holding resentment or holding on to grudges and you're not able to kind of forgive or move past things, that also, if it just builds and builds, that's a pretty toxic relationship. And obviously, with respect, unhealthy relationships on one extreme could be domestic violence. And often people think domestic violence is just physical. It can be emotional, it can be financial, sexual. There can be a lot of different kinds of domestic violence outside of just being beat up or hit or things like that. So that's kind of on the one extreme.
Definitely. And we can see that some of those behaviors we have normalized in society. What do you think are those behaviors that sometimes we see as normal, or some young people especially see certain behaviors as normal? What do you think are those behaviors that we have to inform our society about and just to start changing them and paying attention to those?
Yeah, I think in our society, there's not a lot of good examples of healthy relationships. I think on TV or celebrities, divorce rate is very high, but there's not a lot of examples of what a healthy relationship should like or should be. And I think, it's generational. So if we're raised in a family as a child with unhealthy, parents interacting or fighting or examples of that, we're not really aware of how our upbringing shapes our adult life and the relationships that come in later in our lives when we are adults. And so we tend to learn unhealthy ways from our parents and their parents. So it tends to be a generational thing, but also a societal thing. There's a lot of, with social media, there's a lot of infidelity and temptation and unfaithfulness. And I think the first step is really being aware of that, being aware of, where you came from in your family and making a lot of, having that awareness to be able to stop those patterns and that cycle.
Definitely paying attention to what makes us feel also comfortable and what makes us feel good in a relationship too, what we're sharing with the other people, what we're sharing with ourselves,
Yeah.
and how we talk to ourselves as well, right? Where do you think those behaviors start? So you were mentioning at home in the way we were raised,
Yeah.
and in society as well, in social media and in many other aspects, right, of society. What do you
Yeah.
think is the main stage of our lives that helps us probably develop those behaviors that can be detrimental in our future
Yeah,
relationship?
definitely childhood, seeing how our parents or grandparents, whoever's raising us. I also think self-worth is a big component. I often hear, I'm looking for my other half in a relationship. And if you're a half of a person looking to have a whole with another person, there's always going to be shortcomings. You're never going to feel full because you're not first full with yourself. So I think one of the first steps too for a healthy relationship is really making sure that you are a fully healthy person before you can be in a healthy relationship. And that maybe looks like having good boundaries, communicating well, doing your own hobbies, and having a firm sense of yourself. And even when you're in a relationship, not losing yourself in a relationship. So obviously, couples have hobbies, couples have, different couple friends, but it's important to still maintain your sense of self and your identity and your hobbies, because when both people are still able to fill their cup and have their own kind of sense of self and self-worth, they bring that to the relationship, and they make the relationship whole by being your whole self instead of just incomplete or half of yourself, or not looking for that in another person.
Exactly. It's better to have your own happiness and then share it with someone, because what we cultivate, what we work in ourselves, is what we're gonna share with someone else, right? And yeah, that's something that we really, really need to emphasize with our young couples, especially because they're starting to learn how to form romantic relationships, how to be in a society that teaches us sometimes to behave this way in our relationships, but there's always the better ways to do that. What would you advise someone that is starting to see those red flags, those signs in a relationship that they're already in? How would you advise them to take a better lead, a better path in the relationship, or to end the relationship? Because that's something hard to do sometimes, right?
It sure is. And oftentimes we think, I can help change this person, or, it's only a one-time thing. They apologize, it won't happen again. But then if it continues to happen and it gets into this unhealthy cycle, it's really hard to get out of it. And so whether it's an unhealthy relationship or just a domestic violence relationship, I think one risk is being isolated. So being, closed off from your friends, your family, or just, this new person becoming your entire world. And that's not healthy. And so really maintaining your friendships, your relationships outside of that relationship, staying close with your family, siblings, whatever your community looks like, church groups, anything like that is really important to maintain those relationships. You're not so isolated. I was in a really unhealthy relationship, and it was my girlfriends that helped supported me to get out. I was able to move out of the house. I was able to live with a girlfriend that put me up for a few months. And so continuing to have those relationships. If it's not to the point of domestic violence, but it's just getting in an unhealthy cycle, communicating that to your partner, because sometimes your partner not might be aware of what they're doing, or be aware of some of those things that are upsetting you, or the way that they're acting or treating you. And so before leaving, I think it's having those honest conversations of like, I feel this way, and when this happens, this is how I'm feeling. And so that would be the first step.
Definitely, and also detecting those behaviors, right? And that's why we wanted to share some of these with our community, with our especially the Spanish speaking community as well, because sometimes there's a stigma, and then should I go this way, should I go that way? And sometimes it can be a cultural thing, unfortunately, some behaviors that are learned culturally. But with this, we're super happy to be informing our community, especially as I said, our young people that are starting to form relationships. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Jen. Is there anything else that you'd like to the interview?
Um, I don't think so. I think, like I said, boundaries, if you don't know what those are, just making a list of things that are important to you. It's hard to set boundaries if you don't know what the boundaries are supposed to be. And I have lots of resources. And if you need any kind of, there's also a lot of resources, national, if there's domestic violence hotlines and things like that in your community. So, no, I appreciate you having me, and I hope this was helpful to your listeners. But
Definitely. Thank you so much, Jen. And this is how we start creating change, by informing everybody about unhealthy relationships, about healthy relationships, and to pay attention at what we need to start changing or paying attention to. So
absolutely.
thank you so much, Jen. I appreciate your time, and I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.